Greetings, all you Omicron particle holograms out there. Welcome to Undeclared Bajor, a Starsky and Hutch Deep Space Nine rewatch. Season 2. My name is Fletcher. About to say hello is Data.
I call Starsky.
Oh, dang it. I don't actually know which one is Starsky and which one is Hutch, so... But the fact that you called Starsky makes me feel like he's probably the better one. Today we're going to recap, discuss, and narrate Season 2, Episode 16... Shadowplay. Alternate title, Detective Odo and the Mystery of the Sleepyhead Pajama People.
It was very pajama-y. I will give you that.
The whole time I was just like, why don't these people ever change out of their pajamas? These people just love their pajamas. A quick note.
Hold on, before we move away from it.
Okay.
Thoughts on Shadowplay as a title?
Mostly negative.
Okay.
Unless you have like some special thoughts.
No, it just popped into my head and I didn't want to forget it to ask.
Yeah, man, it's just like, I don't know how they come up with these titles. It's like so tangentially related to what's in the episode. Anyway, a quick note on spoilers. In case our rewatch is your first watch, expect full spoilers through this episode, an appropriate minimum of minor spoilers for later in the series, but nothing too big, like when, I don't know, Dax plays the sax.
Well, we found out O'Brien plays the cello, so they could start a band.
I don't know if we ever see that, but
the cello thing, I believe, comes up in an episode of Next Generation. Like he's like in Data's like string quartet or something.
Interesting. This episode originally aired February 20th, 1994. It was written by Robert Hewitt Wolfe and directed by Robert Shearer in his first and only Deep Space Nine episode, although he directed lots of Next Gen and a couple of Voyagers.
Yep, he directed Measure of a Man, which is a great Next Generation episode. So.
Sure. So in this episode, Dax is dispatched to the Gamma Quadrant to check out, quote, an unusual particle field. Odo tags along because you never know, there could be some more shapeshifter clues over there.
Yep.
Which, fair enough. If I was Odo, I'd be like, hey, can I just tag along on any Gamma Quadrant missions? See if I can find any shapeshifter stuff. Ask around about shapeshifters. Dax passes the time by gossiping, which Odo does not enjoy.
I just love, he's like, I don't know why you're telling me this. I can't see a point at all to any of this. But she did have a point. Which was to like let him know that the Bolian chick who runs the Jumjaw stand was into him. I don't know that we've ever seen a Bolian woman at the Jumjaw stand, but
maybe there's more than one Jumjaw stand.
I mean, they're very popular, right? So
I mean, we've definitely seen like people running that one Jumjaw stick stand, and it's usually like Bajorans doing it.
Yep. Maybe like, foreigners are coming in, buying out the Bajoran-owned businesses.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's like knockoff Bolian Jumjaw sticks. They're not as good. Yeah, I like that. At first, Odo thinks this long story is to like get this one security lady in trouble. She's like, no,
yeah.
That's not the point of my story.
He's like, so-and-so has been kind of distracted lately. I'm going to have to talk to her about this.
So the particle field, no. Dax identifies the strange particles as super rare Omicron particles, concentrated in a small valley of a planet I assume is called Omicron Particle 8. The particle field is interfering with their sensors, so Odo and Dax follow standard Starfleet protocol and both beam down to the mysterious sensor-disrupting planet together, leaving the runabout empty.
I mean, after what happened in, like, the previous episode or whatever, you'd think that maybe people would reconsider this kind of thing.
Nope. They arrive at a nice little village and quickly track the source of the Omicron particles to a big gizmo in the middle of the town square.
Yeah, Omicron particles, which she says are caused by certain kinds of matter-antimatter, like, interactions or something. And I'm like, but isn't there only, like, one thing that matter and antimatter does when it, like, touches? I don't really understand how this works. And also, wouldn't somebody be having to, like, restock this thing with antimatter periodically?
Good point. This is never brought up in the episode.
Nope.
Also, I like when they beam down, you can immediately tell where the Omicron particles are coming from. But Dax is just like looking at her little tricorder. It's like, nope, not coming from this bench.
Yeah, the one high-tech looking thing. Although, I the overall level of technology of this society is really in question in this episode.
Yeah.
But we'll get to that in a minute.
Yeah. So while they are distracted studying the device, a man in pajamas sneaks up and holds them at gunpoint. Back on the station, we begin the B plot, with Quark impatiently waiting in his bar. The doorbell rings, but much to his surprise, it's Major Kira. She breaks the news that Quark's cousin, Kono, tried to come aboard the station, but ran away when they tried to talk to him. Further, Kono is suspected of robbing a museum on Cardassia 5. Kira gives Quark an "I'm watching you" speech, supplemented with a rather harsh "I don't like you" speech.
Yep. I mean, I don't blame her
Yeah.
for not liking... I mean, there was that one episode where he almost got the Dax and, like, maybe all of them killed by letting, like, guys sneak onto the station, so...
Yeah, he's done plenty of, as we've discussed many times, he's done plenty of horrible stuff. I think calling him a Cardassian collaborator is maybe a little harsh, because, like, I mean, first of all, he's not Bajoran, he's Ferengi. He's just a guy who came to the station to run a bar.
Yeah.
Although I'm sure he did all kinds of shady stuff while the Cardassians were there, but you can't... I think you gotta cut him a little bit of slack. What's that? You want another plot? Well, do we have the thing for you? In the Cisco house, Ben breaks the news that he's gotten Jake an after-school job assisting Chief O'Brien, as mentioned in the previous episode.
In what is a very, very small, like, C-plot, I think there's, like, 3 or 4 scenes total in the entire episode that deal with it. But, it's like, it's a decent plot.
Sure.
To work with. It does feel like it, like, reveals and wraps itself up super rapidly, but...
Yeah. So Jake isn't super thrilled, but Cisco says it'll look great on his application to Starfleet Academy. Jake squirms uncomfortably while he decides if he wants to have an awkward conversation right now. He decides against it and just says okay. Back on Omicron Particle Planet, Sleepyhead Pajama Man tells Odo and Dax, "I'm the sheriff round these here parts. Y'all aren't making any trouble, are you?" Exasperated Odo demonstrates that they could just beam away whenever they want, which earns the sheriff's trust.
So, I don't know that being like, obviously we're not up to anything bad, or else we could just leave when we wanted to, is really, like,
yeah,
that great a defense. But also, like, when Odo beams away, this guy seems flabbergasted, like he's never seen anything like this before, and Dax is like, it's okay, he'll be right back. And he's like, oh, interesting, you just disappearing like that. We've had people disappear around here. As if, once again, he has no idea what a transporter is, and he's just like, you also have a disappearing method.
Uh-huh.
And then 5 seconds later, Dax is like, did you scan for transporter traces? And he's like, yes, the first thing I did. So I was like, wait. Step back. Why were we shocked then?
Well, I think it must come down to his programming that he can't imagine anybody ever wanting to leave the valley or something. But yes, he explains that 22 people have vanished without a trace over the last few months, and that he has no idea who's responsible. I'm something of a detective myself, says Odo, who offers to help solve the mystery. The sheriff takes Odo and Dax to another man in pajamas named Rurigan, ruler of Omicron Particle 8. Rurigan's daughter is the latest victim, and he seems sure that the missing people will never be found. Odo wants to interview Rurigan's granddaughter about her mother's disappearance, but it's late and she doesn't seem to be in the mood to answer questions.
Yep. She's like, I don't want it.
Yeah, she's a kid, so. On DS9, Jake reports to his first day of work with Chief O'Brien. Cisco proudly hands him a Starfleet comm badge, which Jake accepts uncomfortably. Meanwhile, Kira recruits Dr. Bashir to keep tabs on Quark.
Something that is never brought back up in the entire episode.
Bashir is eager to practice surveillance techniques that Garrick taught him. Garrick, just the regular tailor. Plain old Garrick the tailor. Nothing more than a tailor.
Yeah. I mean, there was room here for some fun stuff where, like, Bashir could have brought things to her attention, but no.
Yeah. Suddenly, Cisco calls Kira to tell her that Vedic Barile has arrived on the station. She excitedly goes to meet him, and he explains that Prylar Rit invited him to speak at the station shrine, and he had been looking for an opportunity to come see her. As the two stroll down the promenade together, Quark watches sinisterly from the shadows. We don't see Bashir for the rest of the episode. I gotta say, just Vedic Barile, he talks so much like Rafe Fiennes in Red Dragon, the creepy serial killer.
Yeah.
It's all I can ever hear when that guy talks. It's like, come with me to the dark room, Kira. I can't do it. But
their romance subplot is really forced from that previous episode where it's like naked vision, and she doesn't seem really into it at that time. But now, I think this is the first time we've seen him since then, and it's like she's like, "Oh my gosh, Ryle's here! I am so like hot."
Yep, maybe just she couldn't get that naked orb vision out of her brain or something. The next day on the planet, Odo interviews Taya, the daughter of the missing woman. She's interested in his shapeshifterness, and Odo bonds with her by telling her his backstory. And she also, drops some subtle clues about the legends of changelings or whatever.
I do like her thing. It's like, changelings aren't real. Everybody knows that. You're so full of shit, random guy.
Yeah, it's like, you're not real. She doesn't have any useful information about her mother's disappearance, but she mentions the unusual detail that nobody ever leaves the valley. Taya worries about her mother, and Odo promises he's going to do everything he can to find her.
How green is your valley? There's your alternate title.
Okay.
Sorry, I was just... when you said valley, for some reason, that's the first thing.
How green is that valley? It looked kind of green. On Deep Space Nine, O'Brien is teaching Jake the isolinear rod color coding system.
Yep.
Which apparently took him a whole year to learn. So it took him a year to learn, like, the white ones have this stuff on them, the blue ones have this stuff on them.
The white ones were really oddly specific, I feel like. It's like, not just engineering data, but like engineering systems something or other data.
Uh-huh.
And then it's like, and these ones have like library computer data. And it was like, if you only have 4, that's really okay. Oh, it was engineering system controls. So it's not engineering data. It's not engineering systems data. It's engineering system controls data.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'm not in Starfleet engineering, so who am I to question their...
Oh, but these aren't even Starfleet. Like, these are Cardassian.
Are they?
Yeah, because Starfleet uses isolinear chips.
Okay, interesting. But, I mean, he talked about learning this stuff in the academy, or not in the academy, but when he joined Starfleet or whatever. So
maybe isolinear chips have the same color coding system. I don't know.
Well, I think maybe they just put their special color of labels on the rods.
Oh, maybe. Yeah.
Jake confides in the chief that he doesn't want to join Starfleet, and O'Brien tells the story of how he joined Starfleet to escape his father's dream of becoming a professional cellist.
Yeah, he was like, yeah, I got into like the super prestigious like music academy.
Uh-huh.
And I didn't want to tell my dad I didn't want to go, so just 2 days before that, I went up to the enlisted person office and was like, hey, get me into Starfleet. I got to get out of here.
So I got to do anything with my life but play the cello.
Yep.
It's like, I'm assigning you to the cello corps. Damn it.
So the isolinear chips that we saw in Next Generation are yellow, blue, and green. So yeah, those don't quite fit, and they all have like white label-y things at the end of them. So That wouldn't fit the exact same color coding scheme.
We cut to Kira and Bareil exiting the shrine, where Bareil has just delivered a sermon that Kira did not enjoy. But they discover that they both enjoy spring ball, and go off to play some spring ball in Kira's holosuite spring ball program. Back on the Omicron planet, Odo interviews Rurigan, who seems oddly certain that the missing people are never coming back. Rurigan says that he's dying. As he gets up to leave, Odo says, "Oh, just one more thing. How come nobody ever leaves the village?" We just don't like to leave. So what? Says Rurigan.
What's it to you?
Yeah. He makes a very certain declaration that the missing people are not outside the village, then leaves. This, as you might expect, does not quell Odo's suspicions. Odo, Dax, and Taya head to the outskirts of the village to investigate. Dax carries a sensor device that the sheriff gave her. Suddenly, the device vanishes out of Dax's hand. Taya picks some berries to give them, but as she reaches out to give them, her hand disappears. They return to the village where Dax delivers her findings to the sheriff.
Apparently the berries were also fake, for some reason.
Oh yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, she should have reached out and then the berries fell to the ground. What happens if the hologram people try to eat real berries?
Holograms in the holodeck and stuff usually can interact with real stuff without any problems. So
True.
Like they're essentially real while they're there, it seems like. So I guess these guys are pretty much real.
They return to the village where Dax delivers her findings to the sheriff. The entire village, including the people, are holograms made of Omicron particles. He's naturally skeptical, so Dax offers to take him to the outskirts of the village so he can see for himself.
And apparently they just take the whole village.
Oh yeah. It's like, hey village, come check this out.
But the village is also, we find out, like, there's not that many people once
Yeah.
you get them all together, so I guess it's fine.
Well, there's as many people as they could afford extras for that day. But I just imagine they like all lined up and they're like, just try sticking your hand over these bushes. And they're like, whoa, trippy.
They can touch everything but themselves. Oh, wait.
After their spring ball game, Kira and Bareil get into a weird kissing and talking conversation, which I could have done without, where Bareil lets slip that Prylar Rit has gambling debts at Quark's. This causes Kira to storm off, leaving Bareil standing there alone, saying, "So close. So close." Which is like, when you get into the super heavy kissing, don't offer these details. And just don't talk.
Just start talking about random other guy for some reason. Like,
it's like, this guy has gambling debts. No. It's like, wait, what'd you say? It's they can't go good. They're making out like the Cookie Monster eats cookies. Back in the village, Dax speaks to the townspeople while Odo stands there silently doing a little Odo pose. She needs to fix the Omicron particle machine to bring the missing people back and keep the whole thing from breaking down. But it will mean turning it off for a little bit. The townspeople agree. Before they turn off the machine, Taya tells Odo, "Your face isn't so scary once you get used to it."
Very nice.
Odo accepts the compliment in the spirit it was intended. They turn off the machine and the whole village disappears. Except for Rurigan.
Yeah, the guy clearly standing out there in the middle of the empty field, and then Odo doesn't see him until Dax is like, "Hey, Odo, look."
Yeah. So, huh? Rurigan tells the story of how his peaceful planet was conquered by something called the Domino's Union. Domino's
Yeah,
Pizza.
the Domino's.
Domino's
Great
Pizza conquered his planet.
Yep.
So he fled here to make a new hologram version of his home. But he's old and tired, and he just wants to go back to his home planet. I guess he doesn't care that Domino's Pizza rules it anymore. He can eat the pizza. He
said he's dying, so I guess he's like, yeah, I want to go home and die.
Yeah, that's true. He probably wants to be buried in the land of his forefathers or something.
The actor who plays Rurigan, Kenneth Tobey, they mention how awesome it was to get him on the show, because they're like, it was so great because we're all science fiction fans, and he was in the great ones like The Thing, and It Came from Beneath the Sea.
Ooh, nice.
Yeah,
He was pretty good. Yeah, I can't believe that the pajama people were so easily conquered by the Dominion, but you know, what are you gonna do?
pajamas can't solve everything.
It's like, quick, go back to bed. I just like to imagine the whole village sleeps in one giant bed, like, you know, like a Three Stooges sketch or something, where they're all in those like comedic pajamas and like in bed together.
Funny note about the village that
Okay.
the set of the village is a redress of the set from the Next Generation episode Thine Own Self, which aired the week before this.
Oh, okay.
It aired February 14th, and then this one aired February 20th. So,
Huh. Which is that the one where Data goes to the medieval times planet or whatever?
yeah, the way that it sticks out to me is it's the one where like Data gets half of his face ripped off.
Okay.
But yeah,
But it's the one where he like brings the radioactive suitcase and starts killing the whole village.
yep.
I did think like this looks like a very like next gen village set, but I didn't recognize it as any particular village. But you know, I guess like it's like, hey, you're filming a village episode too? It's like, oh hey, yeah, like let's just, you know, use the same village set. So yeah, he wants to go back to his home planet. He has no interest in fixing the Omicron machine, it seems like.
No, he's like, I've had enough of my like personal holodeck for the over the
Yeah.
last 30 years.
And he doesn't consider the village or the people real. But Odo's like, seems pretty real to me.
Yeah, I mean, he claims he doesn't, and then Odo, yeah,
Yeah. He's like, seems like you really love your not real granddaughter. It would be kind of a dick move to run out on all of them right now. And then Rurgen reluctantly agrees.
it's like Odo gives him like the tirade about almost just like hologram rights,
Yeah.
which actually sort of becomes a thing when you get into like late Voyager and
Sure.
the Doctor's, you know, like his own person or whatever. But that's something that Star Trek has skirted around for a while. Is
Yeah.
you get these holographic characters like Moriarty and stuff that seem to be sentient, and it's like, oh, well, in Moriarty case, it was like, well, he's super evil though, so it's justifiable to like stick him in a box forever.
Yeah, and you know, there's plenty like, you know, like the Moriarty episode. There's also like is it the Measure of the Man, the one where Data goes on trial?
Yeah, Data goes on trial
And then
for stuff.
The later one where he pretty much does the favor for the exocomps.
Oh yeah.
Where it's like, you know, what are you like? Who are we to decide what's real life and what's not, or whatever? So you know, these Starfleet people are pretty used to that. Back on Deep Space Nine, Jake confesses to his father that he doesn't want to join Starfleet. So he was like, "Oh yeah, that's totally cool. I'm here for you no matter what."
You do you.
Yeah, much as you would expect Commander Sisko to be. Like,
I mean, after knowing that like his dad was a chef, it's like his dad probably wasn't on him to be like, you have to follow in my footsteps.
yeah.
Or I mean, if he was, clearly Sisko didn't, like professionally. So like we had the scene with O'Brien, which I liked because we got, you know, the backstory on O'Brien or whatever.
Uh-huh.
But you could have had that exact same scene with like the father and son, and had Sisko be like, oh, my dad tried to get me to like go into his line of business, and I didn't want to do that. I wanted to join Starfleet. So I totally get where you're coming from.
Yeah. I mean, it was kind of like, it kind of worked with O'Brien saying it, because like the whole point of O'Brien's story was like, you know, once I joined Starfleet and I started getting really good and successful, like now my dad's really proud of me.
Right.
Because like I did my own thing. But yeah, I don't think we were ever worried that like Commander Sisko would take it badly if Jake didn't want to join Starfleet. Because, you know,
you're joining Starfleet, damn it.
Yeah, it's like we know he's not that kind of dad. And he's probably happy to at least not have his son like go off to fight battles against the Borg and stuff too.
Yeah, probably true.
Kira goes to Quark and gleefully tells him that they caught his cousin with the goods stolen from the museum. And Nice tried distracting me with Bareil, but I can enjoy a nice piece of ass and still make up time to get all up in your business.
I mean, they could have even squeezed in a line where it was like, yeah, Dr. Bashir caught word about your cousin and we caught him coming in. Like, just, to give that earlier scene some sort of relevance. But no.
Or just like to have Dr. Bashir burst in like while they're making out and he's like, I've made an important discovery.
Yeah.
And like show her the pictures that he like surreptitiously took of Prylar Rit or whatever, like taking money from Quark.
See, that would, I mean, okay, so yeah, if he shows up and it's like, yeah, Quark and Prylar were doing some weird stuff as I was watching Quark, that would actually give Bareil reason to be like, oh yeah, Prylar Rit, he's in trouble for like this and that, as opposed to the way that it went down, where it was like hot making out, and then it's like, let me tell you a story about this guy.
Yeah. So yeah, I think the Mr. Robert Hewitt Wolf kind of missed an opportunity on that one. And then we could have a nice scene of Garrick being like, you have done well, my young Padawan.
I'm glad I taught you the secrets of tailoring.
Yeah. I'm totally a tailor. Don't read into it that I taught you all these secret surveillance techniques. On the planet, Dax has gotten the Omicron machine fixed, good as new. Rurigan asks that they not tell the hologram people that he's not a hologram. Probably a good call. I don't know how they take that. Dax turns on the machine, and the village reappears, complete with all the missing people.
Although, I did wonder briefly if the people are programmed to, like, already kind of, like, listen to him and do what he says, because during the discussion about should we allow them to turn off the machine, everyone's like, I don't... Or the two people who actually get speaking roles, they seem like they don't really... They're not into this idea. They don't even believe that these people are actually telling the truth.
Yeah.
You saw your arm disappear, and they're like, well, it could have been something else.
Yeah.
And then Rurigan's like, I think we should do it. And then everyone is like, okay, yeah, we should totally do it.
I think they might have like Westworld programming where it's like their arm disappears. It's like, doesn't look like anything to me. Odo and Taya have a nice little parting moment where he transforms into a toy she was playing with earlier. Then Odo and Dax beam up and head home. Back on the station, nobody can find Dr. Bashir, who is still super deep undercover, infiltrating Quarks.
He's like dressed as a Ferengi on staff.
It's like, I'm your new waiter, Bashirik.
That would have been the episode, like, capper, is like, as it pulls away, you see a Ferengi walking by, and you're like, wait, is that? And it cuts.
Yep. So, you have some thoughts about this episode? Interesting trivia?
Okay, let's see what's in the wiki this time. There's a cut scene where it was mentioned in an incident on Brenda 5 where half the population of a village disappeared, and it was later found out they'd been abducted by Orions to work as slaves in their mining camps.
Oh.
So I guess they're like, maybe this is the thing that happened.
Okay.
There's Orions abducting people.
Those crazy Orions.
Maybe, it's kind of racist. Like, yes, it's Orions, man. Okay, so in the original episode concept, it was titled Persistence of Vision, a title later used in a Voyager episode. And it was Dax and O'Brien trapped on an alien planet where they escaped from prison, but as they try to leave the planet, they discover that they're still in prison. And then they escape again to make it back to Deep Space Nine, but neither of them is entirely convinced that they are in fact free and probably never will be.
And that's how they end it.
I guess that's what it makes it sound like, which is a weird...
That's a little bit like too Twilight Zone-y for Deep Space Nine, but I like it. O'Brien's like, I just went through the experience like where maybe I'm a duplicate. Like I can't go through any more of these crazy stories.
We're gonna have like it's like an Inception ending where is he still in the thing? Is he not? I guess we'll never know. Spoiler for the end of Inception.
Yeah. Spoiler that it's not clear.
Let's see what else is in here. Oh, so Ira Stephen Bear says the episode was really successful. He says when we saw it, we said, you know what? You put Odo together with a kid, and you've got a winner.
That's true. The old cranky old man with a sweet little kid that melts his heart formula.
Yep.
Can't go wrong. Okay, so in this village, they eat grain bread.
Yep.
And the whole time I'm like, what other kind of bread is there? It's like none of this gluten-free bread.
I mean, they got to call it something.
They can't just call it bread?
No.
It's not like potato bread?
Yeah, there you go. They also have potato bread. They just don't like it as much.
So, one thing I have is I kind of like this personality trait that Dax is just a shameless gossip.
Yeah. Yeah, I also like her line, like, where she just jumps straight to, like, kind of inappropriately personal discussion, and she's like, yeah, well, after 7 lifetimes, like, the impersonal questions aren't fun anymore, so I just don't give a fuck.
Yeah. So I have talked about the weather for, like, 300 years. Let's talk about, like, something juicy. I think this might also be the longest we've gone without seeing Morn.
Oh, was he not in this one either? We were in Quarks a couple times. He could have showed up if they wanted.
Yep. Maybe he's working for Garrick and Bashir's intelligence cell.
We scan by in one of the Quark scenes. I get in the one, I think, where Kira confronts Quark at the end or whatever. Like, there's a Bajoran woman sitting there eating in Quarks. And I was like, oh my gosh, is that the lady who runs the Jumja stand? Who's into Odo?
The Bolian woman?
The Bolian, sorry. Yeah, she's Bolian.
Yeah, I did notice that. It's like, did they put that Bolian woman in there just because the script called out the existence of a Bolian woman living on the station? Maybe we'll see her. Who knows? Maybe there's a whole Bolian woman Odo romance that goes on behind the scenes.
Apparently, the woman who plays the Bolian woman in this episode is a recurring, like, background actor as a female Bolian in various Star Trek incarnations.
That's a nice specialty to have.
Yeah.
Background Bolian lady. It's like she's got the Bolian headpiece. She's good to go.
Yeah, she just keeps that.
You know, probably worth a few bucks every once in a while. So I've been thinking, like, it seems like lately we're doing more and more, like, away from the station stories.
Yeah.
Kind of more like traditional Star Trek type stories where they go to a planet and do something.
Mm-hmm.
So I wonder if they're just feeling like a little bored or trapped on the station or something like that.
Yeah, I think they're still trying to sort out, like, what this show is going to be, because we definitely are getting more of that. We're definitely we're getting some more character stuff, and we're getting kind of a solider feel for who some of the characters are than we had in season 1. Like, they're starting to find them a little bit.
Yeah.
And at the beginning of the season, we're like, see, these are the kind of stories that you can only tell on this station, and that deal with, like, the stuff that makes sense for them to be dealing with, stuff that we're supposed to be dealing with. And then they kind of immediately move away from that in some ways. So
yeah, I kind of wonder, I mean, you said this was originally going to be a Dax and O'Brien story.
That's what it says, yep.
I kind of wonder, like, if every once in a while, I think we have mentioned this, where, like, there'll be a story that was maybe written for Next Gen, and they're like, we can't fit that one in, let's throw it on the Deep Space Nine like pile. And then later probably the same thing when Voyager comes up. It's
right.
Like, yeah, this doesn't work for us, but maybe let's give it to them or something like that. And maybe I don't know, maybe they'll make a new special spaceship for more of these away missions. Who knows? Well,
but the one good thing about the runabouts is you can blow them up as often as you want.
They're super disposable.
Yeah, and that's not something you can do with, like, you know, when the series takes place on the Enterprise, for instance. I mean, you can blow up the Enterprise. They did it like 12 times in that one episode. But you can't, like, forever blow it up. You can't really blow it up.
Right.
So
people would start getting a little sick of that.
Yeah, so, you know, that's that is a benefit to having there's a benefit to having these disposable ships where you feel like there's real threats sometimes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, these little kind of like delicate little ships that even like the swoopy hair aliens battle cruiser can blow up or whatever.
Yeah. Because when the Klingons are like confronting Kirk on the Enterprise and they're like, we're going to shoot at you, you're like, yeah, but you're not going to win.
Yeah.
Like, because that's the Enterprise. But now it's like, oh, we're going to shoot at you. And then, I mean, if there's a main character on board, probably still no.
Right.
But if you have some, maybe, not primary characters, then that ship could totally blow up and kill some people.
But yeah, and then the ship can blow up and they could be stranded somewhere or something like that.
Yeah.
And then people are just constantly leaving the runabouts unattended, apparently.
Yeah, they love to do that.
And it's apparently really easy for people to just, like, beam up in there and then, like, set it on a course into the sun or something like that.
Do whatever they want to do with it. I feel like these 2-person teams that we keep seeing are not the optimal number of team members. Like 3, and then 2 people can beam down, and a 3rd person stays on the ship, like at minimum.
Well, like they need to have a procedure. It's like, okay, I'll beam down, you stay here and monitor me. Beam me right back up if something goes wrong or you lose contact or something.
Yeah.
I mean, these little 2-person teams are kind of fun for storytelling. You get those fun little combos like Dax and Odo. Whoever would have thought of that?
Yeah. Well, but the thing about doing the 3-person team is you can do the exact same story on the planet. There's just a 3rd person up on the ship waiting around. And so you can do all the same Dax and Odo stuff, but you don't look like idiots for leaving your ship unattended.
True. Yeah, you could have like someone up on the ship. And, that could give you a few more scenes of them trying to solve the problem from up there or whatever.
You just bring in a guy who's like specifically a runabout pilot, and that's like his area of expertise. And there's no reason for him to beam down. His expertise is not going to be useful on the planet.
Just like a recurring character who has no lines. Like he's just always piloting the runabout.
Yeah. There's in Babylon 5, I think it was season 2, where the network was like, we want you to like introduce a new character who's like a hotshot pilot to like, bring this sex factor and stuff to the show. And J. Michael Straczynski, has like complete control over the show, is like, yeah, okay. And then like the guy ends up in the opening credits as like, one of the stars of the show, but he never really gets much screen time. And then he's like kind of unceremoniously killed off.
Nice. That's the way to do it. Anyway, want to jump into ratings?
Yeah, sure.
Try to keep this a little tight. How would you rate Shadowplay? It took me a while to remember the
title, since it's just so fitting for the episode. I mean, I guess you could call the holograms like shadows in a way, but
I guess,
especially since they were apparently based on the real people, I guess, from his village or something.
Yeah.
Anyway, so overall, I think it's an okay episode. Like, I like when we get to see Odo as an investigator, and he's actually doing some investigation here. Odo and the little girl is like we talked about. That's a fun combo. I feel like that really worked. She was very sweet and cute, and we liked her.
Uh-huh.
Dax actually got to do science-y stuff. Like, her area of expertise came into play.
Yep.
That all worked. I mean, you had the character of the just idiot sheriff who this is the guy you put in charge of like keeping order in your town, but then you find out there's like 20 people living in this town. So I'm like, oh, okay, maybe that makes sense. So yeah, like that whole story I thought was fine. It was decent. I mean, obviously there's holes that we've poked at and talked about, but overall decent. The Jake's story was conceptually, I really like it. Like I said, it felt like introduced and wrapped up super quickly, and like I was like, we could have drugged that out for like a few episodes or something, where you're gradually learning that Jake doesn't want to join Starfleet, and then you have to he has to work up talking to his dad. Or no, let's just get that out of the way.
He tries some things like he goes into it really enthusiastic, and he just kind of realizes it's just not for him over a couple of episodes or something.
Oh yeah, and then he decides he doesn't want to go into Starfleet. That would make sense.
Yeah.
Or you could see Cisco we see Cisco excited, like his son getting his first comm badge and stuff, but there could have been more time to see Cisco like just really selling him on how great it's going to be in Starfleet and like all this stuff, so that it builds up to you actually thinking, oh wow, how is he actually going to take it okay when Jake doesn't want to go into Starfleet? But yeah, I mean, you never get any of that. So a decent story, and I think it was like the way for how much time they gave it. I think they handled it pretty well. Like I felt the emotional resonance of it. I just don't know that they picked the exactly right way to handle it.
Sure.
And even outside of the weird romance stuff, even the Kira plot was like, I like the concept that like while Odo's gone, Kira's like, oh, I'm gonna like take up the baton and I'm not letting Quark get away with anything. And she's so determined, and it's kind of fun. So overall, okay episode.
Sure.
I liked all the pieces. I feel like probably several of the pieces you could have done a better job with, but I like what they were doing. So for me, that's gonna be, I guess I'll give it a Lieutenant Commander.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm gonna place it. It's gonna go on one end, either above or below Rivals. Do I like it more than Rivals? I think I'm gonna put it below Rivals.
Okay. Yeah, I think you said most of that pretty well. I mean, this just falls solidly in my definition of just fine. It's just a fine episode. And I feel like it wasn't trying to be too ambitious. Like, I feel like it set some goals for itself, some easy to achieve goals, and it achieved those goals just fine.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna also give it a Lieutenant Commander. Where to put it, though? I think I'm going to put it... Can't decide if I want to put it above or under Necessary Evil. I mean, Necessary Evil just had so many problems. I'll go ahead and put it above Necessary Evil. So, my top Lieutenant Commander. I mean, something about Vedic Barile always weirds me out, but I just do like the little twist that... Quark tried to distract Kira by like arranging a booty call for her.
Well, and it's additionally weird when you think about it, because it's like, as far as we know, and as far as they're indicating here, they haven't been like romantic before. This seems to be the first time that that's actually happening.
Yeah.
So how would Quark know that would work?
That Bajoran guy just must have had some gossip about Vedic
maybe
or something like that. Or maybe he just has such a reputation that it's like wherever he goes, he like sleeps with the Bajoran women he finds. It's like, oh yeah, this guy Vedic Barile, he's totally got this scam going where he shows the girls this orb, and it shows them like sexy naked stuff, and it gets them all turned on.
Yeah,
the orb of nakedness.
Yeah,
but it worked out. Would have been fun to have that Garrick and Bashir spy stuff. I just like to imagine, like, also Bashir trying to, like, go undercover in, like, a really just obvious fake mustache or something. It's like, hey, what's going on around these parts? I'm brand new.
Or at the end, like, he could have been, like, walking up to Kira with all of, like, this spy equipment that he's replicated. He's like, I'm ready to start. And then she's walking away with Barile, and he's like, what, are we not? Is it? Oh, okay.
Oh, you already, okay, never mind. Darn it. Yes, that would have been funny.
It's just, it's so weird that they had the one scene and then it's not revisited in any way. And I was like, were there cut scenes, but you couldn't cut that scene because that's when she finds out that Barile is here. So you just had to leave it in. Like,
that's true. Yeah. Yeah, you couldn't cut it because she's talking to Bashir when she gets that comms call. Otherwise, she would just show up at the... I guess you could just have her show up at the airlock. He kind of explains what he's doing there, but...
That's true. Well, I was going to say, that would be like the easiest pickup in the world if you're like, hey, we need a quick 30-second shot of Kira just... She's not in unusual clothing or anything. She could be standing literally anywhere on the station and just get a quick, like, comm badge thing. And really... You don't even need much of a conversation. Like, someone's like, the voiceover is like, so-and-so to Kira. And she's like, go ahead. And then they're like, Vedic Barile is here. And she's like, on my way. And, like, it's like the easiest thing in the world to do, like, a quick retake of while they're filming another episode or something.
You could, I guarantee you could just reuse a shot from another episode where she gets a call. And, like, nobody would ever notice.
Yeah, you just change what the voiceover is saying. And it's totally,
Yep.
They use like a season 1 episode where her hair is completely different and like her uniform is different.
Yeah.
That would be hilarious, actually.
Yeah, that would be. But I guess someone's like, "What's Dr. Bashir doing this episode?" They're like, okay, he wants to go help with new infiltration techniques taught to him by Garrick. Oh, we're gonna have Garrick this episode? No.
It's like, Bashir's a recurring star. We have to pay him for the whole season, regardless of how much we use him. So we need to go ahead and get our money's worth.
Yeah.
Make him get up and come to set.
It's like we got to put that pretty face on the screen for at least 1 minute, so that the ladies.
Oh yeah, he's the sex factor of the show. I forgot. Yeah. It's like Next Generation had like Deanna Troi and her outfits, and Voyager has like 7 of 9. Deep Space Nine has Bashir.
Yeah. One thing I'll say about Star Trek is their attempts at sex appeal don't always work. But
part of it is probably, hindsight of it being, in the 90s or whatever.
Sure. Those
we are now far away from then. But...
those weird, awkward 80s and 90s fashions and stuff. Okay, you about ready to call it?
Yep.
Okay. Well, if you've made it this far, thank you for listening. Be sure to check out the description, where I occasionally put links to interesting things. I'm Fletcher, about to say goodbye as Data.
See ya.
There we go. And remember, every once in a while, declare peace. It confuses the hell out of your enemies.